The essential tools of any sand architect are the bucket, shovel, and plastic cups. Ian removed these from the duffel bag and placed each in a neat row on his towel. I prefer molds, countered Carlos, who lifted various plastic shapes out of his carrier. Dwayne stood above them, hands on his small waist, looking at the shore. "We should grab a spot by the water. We'll need the water," he reckoned. "Definitely," agreed Carlos. The shore was peppered with rounded, glistening mounds, each once a promising construction project, now partly erased by the tide. Ian gravely pointed at them. "If we're going to make the kind of castle we talked about, we're going to have to make it up here, away from the rising tide." "Aw, carrying buckets of water up here is going to be a lot of work," protested Dwayne. "Then we give up the idea, grab our floaties, and swim in suspiciously warm water with the 8-year-olds. Ian pointed to the numbers of splashing children wearing bathing suits lumpy with packed sand. Carlos defiantly picked up his bucket and marched towards the shore, shouting behind him, "Start digging!" Smiling, Ian handed the shovel to Dwayne. "He means you. I'll help bring the water," and ran to the shore to fill his bucket. It had been a trying day for Charisse. Not only had she been able to contract new business for her architectural firm, but the shrinking scope of her current projects made it challenging for her to keep her staff busy. Earlier, she learned that her biggest client was significantly reducing the size of their project budget. Admittedly, her patrons valued her visionary talent, but the majority had reservations about financially committing to it. On her way back from a client meeting, Charisse decided to visit the nearby coastal shore for a therapeutic walk. Ever since she was very young, Charisse struggled with her place in the world. It wasn't her talent that made her feel awkward, but the contrast it created. The gap between it and normal was alienating. She looked back across the coastal highway to the bustle of town, which felt small and congested. She turned towards the water and fell into its vastness. Sparkles of late afternoon sun dusted the water for as far as the eye could see. Feeling her mind expand and her motivation return, she continued to walk. She saw a large sand sculpture in the distance and approached it. What she came upon was a marvel. It was a complex castle, in great detail, and the only reason it stood still intact at this late hour was because it was erected beyond the reach of the encroaching tide. It had numerous towers, and the detailing was impressive. Turrets, paned windows, and doors galore. The quality of work here was not unlike what she would have produced as a youth, and she felt elated. Examining the worn trail of footprints between it and the water, she deduced that there were more than one architect involved, more than one endeavoring talent. And she looked out upon the shimmering ocean, smiling from the irony. Amongst the people in her bustling world, she felt alone. But away from the congestion, in the expansiveness of a quiet coastal shore, she found evidence of kindred spirits.